Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, directed by Sam Raimi, is the follow up to the 2016 Doctor Strange film and sees the return of Benedict Cumberbatch as the lead role, Doctor Strange. There are also some other performers that return here, such as Rachel McAdams, Chiwetel Ejiofor, Benedict Wong, who has been in other Marvel movies as well, aside from Doctor Strange, and Elizabeth Olsen as the Scarlet Witch. So, this movie was not something that I was too anticipated for. I certainly enjoyed Doctor Strange, the original, and I think they've done a pretty damn good job with the character, showcasing the character on film. But I don't particularly think that Doctor Strange is like one of the greatest characters in this particular franchise. Hell, I don't even think he's the best character in this movie. Not even close. And, they also introduce a new character by the name of America Chavez, who's played by some kind of new young teenage Latina actress that I've never seen before in other films and other projects. And so just a general rundown of my thoughts with the film. I thought the CGI, I thought it was a little bit too much at first. The movie just bombards you with a bunch of CGI pretty much right away as soon as the movie starts. It just seems like one big CGI fest, which is something that did bother me. These movies, sometimes they can lean too much into computer-generated imagery, and that's certainly a problem if you're trying to tell a serious story. Another thing that kind of bothered me was Doctor Strange himself. He doesn't really have much of a character arc in this movie. The only thing they gave him is, he lost his girl or whatever, and he's upset about that throughout pretty much the entire thing. And I didn't really give a shit, to be fully honest. Rachel McAdams' character is just as important, in this movie as say Jane Foster was in the the older Thor movies. So it's really a non-issue, as far as Doctor Strange's love life goes. So I thought that was rather weak. Even though I didn't necessarily hate the America Chavez character, I didn't really care for the character that much either. This is a new character that's just introduced, comes out of nowhere, hasn't been in any of the other Marvel movies, and the movie automatically is telling me that she's like the most important thing ever because she has some kind of innate ability. Like I said, I didn't really care for the character like that. I didn't even think that the Latina actress that was playing her, I didn't think she was doing a bad job or anything. It's not that they really gave her much to do in the first place. And, I thought she had some good chemistry with Benedict Cumberbatch, which is probably why, she was chosen in the first place to play the character. But I didn't really necessarily attach myself to the character either, which is a big problem because pretty much the entire plot hinges on this character. And I think her character should have been downplayed quite a bit, considering that she's a new character, because they made her more important than Doctor Strange himself. And that seems weird, considering the name of the movie is Doctor Strange. This is supposed to be a Doctor Strange movie. And he's like the least interesting participant in the entire thing. I will give kudos, however, to what is easily this movie's best character, which is the Scarlet Witch. I personally was not expecting the direction that they chose to go with Scarlet Witch, and they actually made her the villain of the movie, which I was not expecting that at all. And not only did they make her the villain of the movie, they really gave Scarlet Witch a power boost. Like, Scarlet Witch does some pretty heinous things in this movie, and she fights some very powerful characters and just decimates everything in her path. And the reason they gave for the character's turn, is connected to the TV show, WandaVision. Like, you have to watch that show in order to gain a full understanding and picture of, the character's mentality in this movie. And I thought that was a good way to, connect to the newer Marvel TV shows that's on Disney Plus. I myself, I did like WandaVision. I did like the direction they went with it. But when it comes to the direction that they went with Scarlet Witch in this movie, I believe clearly this was Elizabeth Olsen's last movie in her contract with Marvel, and so they wanted her to go out on, a high note, and that's part of why they went the direction that they did with Scarlet Witch in this movie. And I don't think they could have done a better job. Even though I think you could pick apart the mentality of the Scarlet Witch in this movie, especially if you compare what happened to Scarlet Witch at the end of WandaVision. It does seem a bit forced with what they did with the character's new direction, but I enjoyed it personally. Now, when it comes to the action, the way the action scenes were directed, the action scenes themselves were masterful in, their framing. It seems that they really took the time to storyboard and concept exactly, what was going on in the action scenes, frame by frame. And I never got confused as to what was going on, despite the fact that there's a lot of CGI in the action sequences. You can always tell, exactly what's happening and how, the fight moves from stage A to stage B, and so on and so forth. I thought Sam Raimi did a great job directing the action sequences and the choreographers as well as the stuntmen. I think they should all be proud of the action scenes in this movie as well. They did a great job, and I think one of the best ones was a scene with Doctor Strange late in the movie that involved some music notes. And I won't say any more, but that was very creative. As someone who plays a musical instrument myself and has written, two records myself, that was enjoyable for me to see that. So I thought they did a great job with the action sequences. Now, I do want to talk about the most interesting concepts that they introduce in this movie. It comes at around the halfway point, and the fact that they introduce some new characters in the Marvel Universe, two particular groups that they've already announced that they are introducing within the franchise. I very much like the teaser that they had for both of those families in this movie. And of course, I'm referring to the Fantastic Four and the X-Men. So, starting off with the Fantastic Four, they have Reed Richards in this movie. And not only do they introduce Reed Richards in the movie, he's actually being played by John Krasinski. And I thought that was fucking kick ass. As soon as he appeared on screen and he had the Fantastic Four suit on, which they also did a damn good job of, by the way. It doesn't look stupid. It doesn't look out of place. It lines up with the other MCU costumes and whatnot. You could tell there was a high level of quality with the production quality with the costume. That was fucking great to see that. And the way John Krasinski plays the character, the way he portrays Reed with his voice and his mannerisms, I thought it was spot on. And I can't wait to see the rest of the Fantastic Four characters in the MCU. That was a fantastic tease right there. And then what's more, they introduce the X-Men. You don't see any of the X-Men characters except for Professor Xavier, whom they actually got Patrick Stewart to come back as the character, and that was brilliant. That was fucking brilliant. Not only do they introduce Patrick Stewart, as soon as they introduce him, they have a brief tease with the music with his introduction, and it's taken from the 1990s X-Men series. Now, I grew up watching that shit. That was the shit back in the day. It was that show, the 1990s X-Men show, and the 1990s Spider-Man series that I grew up with. I must have been like 4 or 6 years old, somewhere around that age, back in the 90s, and I used to watch that show all the time in my youth. And so I immediately recognized where that was from. And then they didn't put him in a wheelchair. He has this hovering, this futuristic. It's not a wheelchair. It's more like a hover vehicle, like a hovercraft or whatever that he's in, and it's painted yellow. So that was another nice homage to the 1990 show as well. And, Patrick Stewart had previously said years ago when Logan came out that he wasn't going to return as Professor Xavier. And I'm glad that Kevin Feige, got him to, change his mind. I'm really looking forward to seeing, some of these iconic X-Men characters, enter the MCU. Now, they got Patrick Stewart to come back. I'm wondering if they're going to get Hugh Jackman to come back as Wolverine. That would be that would be too much. If they got Hugh Jackman to come back as Wolverine, that would just be amazing. We'll see. We'll see what happens. If they manage to convince him to come back as the character, great. If not, oh well. We did get Patrick Stewart, but looking forward to seeing if that's going to happen or not. So I was thrilled seeing the teaser for those characters in the MCU. They continue to find unique ways to keep fans invested, even though, we're way past Avengers Endgame. Currently, right now, apparently they don't have any further plans to make any more Avengers films, which I believe Kevin Feige said himself that Endgame was going to be the last Avengers movie. I'm curious if they're going to do another big team up movie after we get through some more Marvel films. But all in all, Multiverse of Madness was great. I enjoyed the hell out of it. They even have a Bruce Campbell cameo in this movie, and I'm not going to reveal what that scene is. But that's a nice, throwback to his earlier work with Sam Raimi, dating all the way back to the Evil Dead series. And then the Spider-Man movies as well. He also made 2 cameos, I believe, in Spider-Man 2 and then another one in Spider-Man 3. And once again, he has a cameo in this movie. And it's fucking hilarious what they did with him. So I may actually decide to go see this again. Like, I really enjoyed it that much. Now, I'm curious to know if this truly is the Scarlet Witch's last appearance in the MCU. I think it is, but I'm not entirely certain. I haven't kept up with the interviews or anything. So, I haven't watched any of the interviews with Elizabeth Olsen, who plays the character. So, I'll be digging for that information. But yeah, aside from that, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, it was a hell of a good ride to me. Looking forward to catching it again.